Conspiracy theorists have often wondered if a hidden hand is controlling the world. Well, maybe it's not so hidden after all. And then we take a look at a bizarre phenomenon that, it kind of makes sense. A lot of the stuff on this show is weird. This might be one of the weirdest, but out of all of the possibilities, this makes a little more sense. Is it possible that a fictional character, renowned for being a scientific genius, has actually created a portal in his fictional universe and uses it to visit ours? Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. Hope you guys are having tons of fun doing whatever you're doing, and I hope you guys had a good, happy, and safe Halloween. I didn't get to do much because I was sick, which kind of sucked, but other than that, it is actually my favorite holiday, and there was a bunch of stuff in town to do. For the first time in years, they had another haunted house set up, costume party, and I didn't get to do any of it. But I hope you guys had a good Halloween. I am feeling better as we get started for our upcoming speaking presentation in Port Campbell, but we'll get to that in a second. First off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command, everyone get on your feet and give it up for Nathaniel Williams. Woohoo, yeah, he's running on in, doing jumping jacks, getting all the energy out from all that candy he ate on Halloween. Nathaniel Williams, a long time ago, I've been cleaning out my place to do some remodeling. Jason, you've been doing that for like 2 months. It's only been a month, but I got sick. And then I injured my back. But anyways, so I took a break. But I found these little slips. A couple of you guys bought me stuff off my Amazon wish list, and I just want to make sure you guys get the shout-outs. Maybe I did it when I got it. Nathaniel wrote, "Thanks for doing the work you do. I enjoy the show." Nathaniel, thank you so much for the gift. That is why you are going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially through the Patreon or the merch store or buying me gifts, it's totally fine. It really, really is. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. So some quick updates before we get started here, Nathaniel. November 7th in Port Gamble, Washington, I will be speaking at the Port Gamble Ghost Conference. I'm really looking forward to it. I always have a good time there. This year's presentation is on fast food ghosts. So I got a lot of really good stuff to talk about from previous episodes of Dead Rabbit Radio, including my own experience at a trans-dimensional Wendy's. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. If you guys can make it, there's links in the show notes of how to buy the tickets and stuff like that. And if you guys can't make it, you know what I always say, go to any paranormal convention in your area. It's great to be part of that community. It's a lot of fun to go to these things. Also, before we get started, I gotta say this. This is the last week of season 28. We take a 2-week break every 50 episodes. But this week, we're only gonna do 2 episodes because of the travel time and all the technical issues I've been having. It's been quite the struggle to just get these 2 episodes out. So we are gonna put out today's episode, tomorrow's episode. We're gonna take a 2-week break. We'll be back November 24th with new episodes, and we'll also be doing our annual Dead Rabbit Radio Thanksgiving special. Now, it's so far ahead, I haven't been able to think about the time and when we're actually going to do that. So be subscribed to the YouTube channel so you'll see that. Once the new episodes do start up, I'll know specifically what time it is. We'll do all that. I'll give you all that up front, but it'll only be with like a couple days. Super chaotic, I know. Apologize. I really apologize for it. It's been a crazy month, technical stuff and health stuff, but we're going to keep going. We're going to roll right into season 29. I'm actually really excited to see what an entire season of Dead Rabbit Radio will look like with the 3 episodes a week and brand new stories, all sorts of stuff. Great research stuff. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope to see you guys there when we start season 29. And then next time I'll have my computer fixed or have a workaround done by then. But anyway, so let's go ahead. That's enough of the preamble. I know what we're all here for. We're here for the ghosts, the goblins, the crazy conspiracy theories. That's how we're going to start off. Nathaniel W., I'm going to toss you the keys to the world-famous Carpenter Copter. We are leaving behind Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Why don't you fly us all the way out to Israel? Wait. We're not taking the Carpenter Copter yet. You're like, what? What's going on? If we turn it around, bring it back. He flies it on back. Okay, Nathaniel, Let's go hop inside the Dead Rabbit Dune buggy. We have to fly all the way back from Israel to get another vehicle, but come on, I gotta use 2 of them. Let's fly back, get in the Dead Rabbit Dune buggy. Nathaniel, why don't you drive us out of Dead Rabbit Radio Command all the way out to Israel? Driving over the dusty sands of the Middle East. Jason, what could you possibly be talking about? You mentioned hidden hands in the intro, conspiracies, and now we're in Israel. I'm a little concerned. Well, you shouldn't be, right? I mean, we did violate Israeli airspace with a military copter, flew away, and now came back undercover in a Jeep. But no, I know what you're probably thinking, but let me lay this out for you. We're headed all the way out to the Middle East. It's obviously been in the news cycle, not just for the past couple years, but for the past couple decades. All of this strife, all of the stuff that's going on. But what is really, really interesting, and something, because, I read the news every day. I'm not like I'm bragging. I know everybody reads, or most people read the news every day. But what's interesting is when you step back from the headlines, there's a really interesting story going on in Israel that is all internal. And basically, I don't want to say they're on the verge of a civil war, but if you type that into Google, you'll find a couple articles talking about that. And one of the really interesting things going on is because the war in Gaza, which at this point there's a ceasefire and hopefully it holds, but whenever you're at war, you need troops. And in Israel, military service is compulsory. Men and women, they both have to serve, except for one group of people don't have to serve. And I don't know the proper term for it, but basically it's rabbinical students. You can say, I'm going to dedicate my life to studying the Torah. I'm going to dedicate my life to just reading about all of this stuff and studying it and examine it. And in return, I don't have to do military service. And there's like other things as well. I think they get paid for it. They get some sort of funding. And the state of Israel goes, yeah, okay, that's a good trade-off. It's furthering our knowledge of the religion that we all follow. I know not everyone in Israel is Jewish, but you know what I mean? They go, yeah, that sounds like a plan. Well, now they're like, we really need more people in the IDF. And this has been a big issue going on. It actually predated this, but because the need for manpower is so great at this time, there's a big push across sectors of the Israeli community saying, you got to draft those guys. And at the same time, there's a big push saying, no, this is an agreement that we made. This actually transcends this government. We're working for God. Really interesting dilemma that is going on over there. And it is a powder keg. Despite all of the external stuff going on, this, some believe, is the number one threat to the future of the state of Israel, is this division. And a lot of people who don't like Netanyahu before October 7th, and a lot of people who don't like him now, they may not be on the side of the rabbinical students, but they just want him out. A lot of stuff going on. And that's all kind of been internally covered. I read news articles about it from time to time, but it doesn't really get out into the mainstream media, I should say. Well, let's take a look at this. I came across this article a while back, and it's by an author named Menachem Rahat. And this is so fascinating. I kind of just want to jump into it. He agrees. He goes, listen, the biggest problem going on in Israel right now isn't all the stuff. Well, let me back up. He didn't specifically say that. Now, this isn't a political segment either. I'm just not going to talk about internal Israeli strife. This gets really weird. I feel it really makes you think of the world in a different way. It's almost not even a conspiracy theory. It's like gravity. It's just a force that happens whether you like it or not. And this is what Menachem writes in this article. It's called the 8th decade. The 8th decade. Menachem lays it out like this. There have been, because Israel has been established and then been destroyed multiple times. And he goes, well, let's look at when King David unified the tribes of Israel and created this nation. It lasted for 8 decades. And then internal strife tore it to pieces. Okay, a history lesson there. But then fast forward to the building of the Second Temple. That was done during the Hasmonean Kingdom, unified Israel once again. And this nation, everybody's unified, lasts 8 decades until internal strife rips it to pieces. At that point, it became a vassal state of Rome and then eventually got conquered by other forces in the area. Well, then, let's do a little bit more recent history. Modern day Israel, the state of Israel, was founded post-World War II, 8 decades ago. And now, once again, it's really on the verge of falling apart internally. And that's what Menachem's worrying about. He goes, is this just going to keep happening? Is there something about Israel that it can't last unified as an actual nation, not a group of people, not as a thought, but as an actual nation? Will it only ever last 8 decades? And I'm reading this article and I go, well, that's fascinating because you can look at the past, but maybe it's just a fluke. Well, then Menachem goes, oh, no, it's not just about Israel. Many nations only last 8 decades. I'm like, what? He goes, for example, United States. The United States is a bit of an exception, but we'll start there. This is really interesting because it makes me think of nations as a biological entity that have a lifespan, unless drastic measures are taken. The U.S. Constitution was signed, and 8 decades later, Civil War reshaped the country. At the time of the Civil War, you had a bunch of countries in Europe forming. They're finally unifying. Those countries were Germany, Italy, and France. 8 decades later, after the Civil War, Italy, 80 years after they were unified and formed, you had the rise of fascism with Mussolini. Again, it's a completely different world. And you go, well, Jason, those countries still existed. It wasn't the country that was formed by the parents and the grandparents anymore. This new generation came up and they wanted something different, even though it was going to cause radical issues both internally and externally in the case of Germany, Italy. France also formed after the end of the Civil War in the modern way of we look at France as a nation here. They were quickly swallowed up during World War II. A little bit of an outlier. What about Britain? I was thinking about this and I go, well, he didn't mention Britain. I go, and I'm not a huge, Britain history guy. I go, okay, well, Britain's around. Did they fit this 80-year? Did they fit this 80-year, this 8-decade theory? That after 8 decades, a nation either collapses or radically changes to the point that you don't recognize it as being the old version? Well, what was interesting, I looked this up, because again, I just go, well, maybe it's just a fluke. I said, what happened, when was modern day Britain formed? The United Kingdom. United Kingdom, where you finally had Britain and Scotland become one. 8 decades later was the American Revolution. I was like, this is so weird. There should be outliers here. I mean, technically France, I guess. I don't know a lot of internal French history. Getting conquered by another nation, it's not really fair to fit into the 8-decade theory. But this idea that 8 decades after a country unifies or forms, it falls or radically changes to the point that it's not even the same country anymore. And it's always only 8 decades. Now, America, you go, but America's still united, Jason. United Kingdom is still united. They're not super unrecognizable. They just suffered massive issues 8 decades in, which is, again, odd enough that you can compare this across different countries and different cultures. This is what I mean when I said the hidden hand. What I'm about to say is nothing of what Menachem was mentioning. None of this was in his article. But I think, this isn't a conspiracy theory I like to believe. It's probably one of the most depressing for me to think as possible. And I'll keep it brief because I could go on and on. It's kind of heartbreaking. I believe, because Menachem goes, let me say this too. He goes, I'm not the guy making this up. Historians have studied this for decades because it's something that just happens. So historians want to figure out why nations only last 8 decades, or they seem to. And the theory is this: the 8th decade is when the 3rd generation comes to power. The first generation, the people who actually form the country, whether it's through the American Revolution, whether it's defining the borders, taking all these tribes, taking all these different groups and saying we are now this country, that takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of adversity to try to get it in the first place. You knew what the place was like before it was united. You may have had to go into a place militarily and take it over, but you have that, and that first generation is like, finally, we are one. All of my brothers and sisters, we are one group. We are this country. It was a long fight, and we remember what it was like before this. This is awesome. I will put the needs of the nation above my own. Their children, the second generation, they don't directly remember anything about the struggle. They were not even born. But they're close enough to the origin of the country to go, well, this is kind of crazy. I am blessed to be born in this area at this time. And I hear the tales of my parents, and I can still look around and kind of see the transition of what was and what is now. I am also going to put the needs of the nation above my own. But the third generation is so far removed from the initial struggle to set it up, and even the struggle to start maintaining it. That second generation, they're in charge of maintaining the culture. The third generation that's born goes, whatever, man. This place is cool and all, but you know what? Things might have been better before. I don't know. All I know is I gotta do what works for me. Like, it's cool that this nation exists, but I gotta take care of myself first. And then if I got a little bit extra, I'll put that energy towards maintaining the nation. Menachem says this is the theory that historians have, that third generation, it's not necessarily that they don't care at all, it's that they care more about their own needs than the needs of others. And so when internal strife pops up, a whole chunk of the population is kind of disconnected from it. Or they take it for granted and they go, oh, those guys over there, they're talking about doing all this crazy stuff. That's fringe. That's some weird political belief. I'm not going to worry about it. What could such a small group of people do to a country? Fascinating stuff. That's a really interesting theory, that third generation is so disconnected that it allows fringe elements to destroy a country from within. And the fringe elements always think they're making stuff better. They also don't remember the struggle. They don't remember maintaining it. They just remember being born there. Fascinating stuff. Well, anyways, here's my conspiracy. And this isn't my conspiracy theory. I've read this for years. I really hate that it could be true. And the fact is that countries agree to go to war. Countries say, you know what, I'm going to call up my boy in this other place and say, hey, let's go to war with each other in about 4 years. We got a lot of young men. We're not going to be able to feed. We don't have enough jobs for them. How about I send out 500,000 and you send out 500,000. We'll have them kill each other on some desolate battlefield and call it a day. A coaling, really, is what it is. I'm not saying all wars are like that. I'm not even saying most wars are like that. And I'd want to believe that no wars were like that. But issues like this make me think it's possible. A nation has one goal, and that is the continuation of the nation. That's really all that it cares about, like any living creature. And if this 8-decade theory is true, and it has been studied, it's very interesting because you could have a country going, listen, we were formed 8 decades ago. And we understand this theory, it's happened throughout time. Countries are torn apart internally. What if we can find an external threat to unify our people, and you over there, you need to unify your people, this other nation? How about we go to war with each other? I don't even think you necessarily need both sides to agree to a war. I could 100% see a country going, we have a big internal issue and it's going to rip us apart. Like, this is about as bad as it gets. Let's attack somebody. And to kill off hundreds of thousands of young men that are just going to end up either competing for resources one of these days, or they're going to overthrow their government. So you get rid of a bunch of fighting age men. Fascinating stuff. And it delves right into that conspiracy theory. Oh yeah, and that's what I mean by the hidden hand. The hidden hand, I know a lot of times is used, I don't think all the time, hidden hand isn't always used as an anti-Semitic slur, but it is sometimes. That's what I mean, this hidden hand of governments just deciding to do horrible things, but it's all an act to prolong their own existence. And then you go, well, Jason, I mean, if it works, it works. If you can go and conquer other people, and the thing is it can backfire too. Like chemotherapy may not work. You may invade a country and get stomped and lose power. Or maybe get conquered yourself. That's why I think it would be in countries' best interest to organize the war and say, we're going to do this for this many years, we're going to kill this many people, we're going to spend this much money. Because that way you don't have to worry about actually getting destroyed. That'd be the advantage of the agreement. Now, I don't think that, and I should be clear, I don't think that's what happened in the past few years in Israel or Gaza either. I'm not saying Israel started that issue with the Palestinians to prolong their 8 decades. And Menachem definitely wasn't saying that either. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I could see countries doing this that were hoping to prolong their existence. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Nathaniel Williams, let's go ahead and toss you the keys to the world famous Carpenter Copter. We are leaving behind Israel. Why don't you fly us all the way out to the Bay Area? As we're flying out to the Bay Area, we look out the window and we see the last 747 flying next to us. The last 747 sent over this story. Really, really appreciate it. Lots of good work coming from the last 747. Let's take a look at this story. We don't have a real name for this. This is fascinating to me. Fascinating to me, and we've covered stories like this before. This one, I think, is pretty reasonable. I say that now, but you go, well, Jason, I don't know. Maybe you've lost your mind. Maybe you're that sick. We're flying all the way out to the Bay Area. We're going to meet a young girl. Don't have a real name. Let's call her Allison. The year is 2006, 2007. Mommy? Allison says as her mother's driving the car down the road. I can't wait. Jason, is this the main character? And are you going to do this voice the whole time? Well, yes and no. It is the main character. Her mom's driving her home. She just got picked up from grandma's house. Hey, Mommy, when we get home, I'm going to have so much fun. Mom's like, we will, honey. We'll both have a lot of fun. But little did they know that they weren't going to have fun. You're like, Jason, what is this? Why are you doing this intro? This story doesn't even take place till they get home. Oh, they stopped at Trader Joe's. And they walked around the grocery store. It's a long setup. The point is that, this is the story, you're right. Allison and her mom are at their home in the Bay Area. Dad's not there right now. So it's just those two. And Allison goes, listen, the story happened when I was around 3 years old, which she says obviously should discount any of this story because how much could a 3-year-old remember, or how much could you actually trust a 3-year-old? She goes, listen, before you guys get upset that I'm 3, my mom also witnessed all of this, and to this day, because 2007 is 18 years ago? To this day, Allison goes, me and my mom still talk about this. In fact, we were just talking about it the other day. That's what made me want to post it online. Me and my mom totally remember this happening. Allison and mom are at home, and mom's in the kitchen cooking, and Allison is sitting in her room, just hanging out, being a kid, probably reading a book with really thick pages. Maybe a television's on nearby. But then she gets up, right? She's walking around the house, and she walks by her father's gaming room. So I'm assuming it's like video games, not like pool or dartboard or something old like that. Something new, something exciting. Allison's walking down the hallway. She looks and she sees her dad's gaming room. But who she sees in the gaming room will change her life forever. And possibly yours. Okay. Might be big praise for this story. I'm like, it's the best story ever. It'll change your life. I'm Tony Robbins. Maybe I'm hyping it up a little bit too much. You're like, hey, everyone, gather nearby. This story's about to change our lives. There's only 2 episodes this week. And this is one of them. Bet it's good. Bet it's going to be a great one. I bet this isn't just an article he had sitting on his desktop because he locked himself out of his computer. Surely this is a king among king of stories. Everyone gather around the laptop or the Bluetooth speaker. Now I officially am hyping it up. You're like, who is it? Is Jesus in that room? He was in the bathroom in the last episode. There's a fascinating story. But anyways, this one, Allison looks into the room, and who does she see in the room? Standing there in her father's gaming room is The Green Goblin. You're like, what? The Green Goblin? Not just a Green Goblin? Well, a Green Goblin wouldn't change your life. I mean, it would be your parents. It's not like you walk by, you see him, you're like, you're not that important. There's a real life goblin hanging out in your dad's gaming room. No, Allison sees the Green Goblin, Spider-Man's arch nemesis, standing there. Alive. It's not like a cardboard cutout. It's not a statue. It's the actual Green Goblin from Marvel Comics. Now, she's 3. She doesn't go, oh, you're the Green Goblin when she sees him. She just sees a green goblin man, but he's dressed exactly like the Green Goblin from the comics. It's just a big, giant monster. It's not like she's like, oh, where's Spider-Man? She's all looking around. And big is a good word. He was between 6 and 7 feet tall. So just a human that big that you didn't recognize standing in your house would be fear-inducing enough. But considering he's also green and wearing pointy purple shoes, purple gloves, you're like, start laughing at him. You're like, that's kind of a ridiculous get-up, Goblin Man. And a purple pointy hat. He was the Green Goblin. Now what's interesting, she didn't say what color his tunic was. But, I mean, everything else matches. I don't know what would be more terrifying. To walk in and see the Green Goblin dressed exactly like the Marvel comic books, or the Green Goblin, but he's naked. He's standing there. He has his gloves and his shoes on and his little hat, but he's just standing there naked in your dad's gaming study. This freaks her out. She sees this giant green man in there, and he has this grin on his face. And she can see these sharp teeth inside of his mouth. She takes off running. She runs to the kitchen. Mom, 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 there's a monster in the house. And Mom's like, what are you talking about? But, you probably should listen to your kid, even if they are a fabulist. Every so often, if your kid says there's a monster in the house, you should check. Well, the mom does go, okay, honey, where are we going? In the gaming room. So Allison is like pulling her mom towards the gaming room, wants to show her what happened. And the mom walks down to the hallway and looks, and standing there in the hallway is the Green Goblin. Even the mom is looking at this giant green man dressed like the Green Goblin, and it terrifies her. We have 2 different witnesses to this story. Now, this is not the end of it, right? This isn't the end, hold on. When the mother sees Green Goblin, and when Allison sees him for the second time, his demeanor has completely changed. The Green Goblin is standing there, and he's looking around the house with a very confused look on his face. The grin is gone. He's just kind of, looking around. What noise do you make when you're confused? Huh? Or no noise at all. But he just looked around like he was very confused. He didn't know where he was. And when the Green Goblin turned and looked directly at Allison and Mom, the look of confusion was replaced with a look of surprise. The Green Goblin then stepped back into the dad's gaming room. And at that point, Mom walked down the hallway a bit and looked into the gaming room. It was empty. She walked around the room checking stuff out. She couldn't find him or anyone. There was no one in the gaming room at all. Allison said, we wondered about this. Checked to see if someone had scurried in and out of the gaming room in a hurry. There was no proof of that windows were open and closed in such a short amount of time. It was the Bay Area. People are weird down there. It could have been some weird green fetish, purple-booted fetish cult. The other theory they had was that was dad. That was the dad who wasn't supposed to be home. Maybe he is secretly the Green Goblin, or he was pulling some sort of prank. But the dad denied it, which I'm sure you would too. You're like, oh yeah, sorry honey, I'm cheating on you with my own alter ego, the Green Goblin. When you're not home, I dress up like Spider-Man's foe and furiously masturbate. The idea that it could be the dad, it being a prank, definitely possible. But they go, we've been talking to him about this for years. He's never fessed up to it. Could be a weirdo breaking in, could be that. But that's not the end of the story, though. There are other reports. Allison posted this online, and other people started saying, I saw the Green Goblin too. One person was like, it was specifically the Green Goblin, you're right. He was dressed he had green skin, he was dressed in the purple gloves and the pointy hat. I saw him. And their story had a bit of a different take. But basically, this girl, we'll call her Tony, she said, I was sitting in my room one night. She was older. I was sitting in my room one night, and in the dark room, I was laying in bed, in the dark room, I started to see something blacker than black appear. You could see the outline of a humanoid form that was so dark I could see it in a dark room, which is weird. I've had that experience too. You're seeing something pitch black appear in a dark room. You can tell the difference, and I started to see colors kind of pixelate. I'd see little green squares appear, and then little purple squares appear, and I'm watching this thing manifest. I'm watching this thing pixelate into existence. She starts to become overwhelmed with the idea that something bad is going to happen. Probably, right? He is a supervillain after all. But her only response, she's an adult when this is happening, her only response to seeing a fictional character pixelate into the real world is to hide under her bed covers. Tony goes, I fell asleep at some point. I'm guessing she goes, everything kind of turned into a blur. And for about 3 days after that, I had some of the most intense sexual dreams I've ever had. She doesn't say what those dreams are. She doesn't say if they're Green Goblin related. But I'm assuming they were. That happened just last year. That happened in 2024. The Green Goblin appeared in her bedroom. And possibly had sex with her multiple times. So, here's my thing. We've covered fictional characters entering the real world before. There was another guy, he just said he saw a spooky green Goblin man dressed like the Green Goblin with pointy teeth. That guy didn't really do much. Oh, that one, yeah, the Green Goblin was in the neighbor's house. This kid was climbing a fence, and he looked in the neighbor's window, and the Green Goblin jump scared him. So, that's pretty much the whole story. It kind of has more detail than that. But he looked in his neighbor's window, and a little Green Goblin man, or regular-sized Goblin man, jumped out and scared him and had, like, the purple hat and the pointy teeth and all this stuff. This is what I'm getting at. This is my theory. We've covered imaginary or fictional characters coming into the world several times on this show. Young woman sees the Hamburglar from McDonald's running down the street. Ronald McDonald himself jumped out of somebody's closet. We've covered Freddy Kruger talking to people through television sets. Easter Bunny coming to life and walking around. He didn't do much. He didn't give out eggs. What a loser. He didn't even scare anybody. We've covered, I find that fascinating. I find that so fascinating. And there's a lot of theories behind it. Is it tulpas? Is it the fact that these are not fictional characters? They're actually based on real life deities or real life occurrences. Basically the idea that Bugs Bunny is actually a Native American trickster. That was an old episode we did. It's not like a trickster goes, ooh, I really like those Looney Tunes. I'm going to start being Bugs Bunny. No, it's the very idea of Bugs Bunny was inspired. And let me back up. Not inspired because someone read a book and thought about it. The deity itself wanted to be worshipped once again. So it spiritually inspired the creator of Bugs Bunny to create Bugs Bunny. Not like that guy read a couple books about the trickster rabbit motif. No. I know I have this theory, and people always think I'm wacko for believing it. I don't believe in it, but I think it's possible that Mickey Mouse does not look like a mouse. Nor has he ever looked like a mouse. Well, okay, Jason, he has a tail. He has mouse ears. Hold on. I do not say that this story is 100% true. I'm not even going to say it's 50% true. But I theorize, because here's the thing, Mickey Mouse sucks. He's super boring. I've never laughed at a Mickey Mouse joke in my entire life. Ever. He's dumb. Disney has way better characters. Donald Duck, Scrooge McDuck, Huey, Dewey, Louie. Goofy is miles funnier than Mickey, and Goofy's okay. Mickey's the worst. And I go, what if there's some sort of weird demon that looks just like Mickey Mouse, but he's not a mouse. He's this abomination. If you took a silhouette of Mickey Mouse's head, and you go, oh, that's the head, and those are the big round things are the ears. Are they? What if those are giant eyeballs? Jason, what are you talking about? They're not that. They're obviously ears. Well, imagine that if I was some sort of hell spawn, I was some sort of hideous demon, and nobody worshipped me anymore. How would you get worshippers again? You sure you could go to some remote village in Russia and find a bunch of edgy teenagers and appear to one of them in a dream, and then eventually they go on a murder rampage and kill 4 people? And then eventually they get thrown in prison, and you're like, oh, that wasn't a real good long-term plan. I don't know why I thought that would allow me to be worshipped by nations. You're sitting in a jail cell. You're like, oh, you knucklehead, how'd you get caught after those first 4 people? You could become a lovable childhood character. A demon could show up to Walt Disney and be like, Walt, you're stuck. Look at these drawings. They suck. Demon's knocking the stuff off the table. You want to be successful? You got to get in the mouse business. You're like, wait, I thought he wasn't a mouse. Now the demon's a mouse? He goes, no, that's what they call me in hell. Because they see these giant things on my head. People think they're ears, but they're actually eyeballs. And I'm a monster. I'm a hideous monster. If you drew my true form, people would throw up and gouge out their own eyeballs. But Walt, Walt's throwing up and trying to pull his eyeballs out. No, you need those. You need those to draw me. I've appeared to you in my true form, but don't rip your eyeballs out. Look at me and draw an image of me that won't make people hideously sick, but it's also close enough to my true form that when people worship it, when people have it decorating their clothes and their cars and their tattoos and all of this stuff, that really they're worshiping me. And if you do that, Walt, here's what's in it for you. You're going to be super successful. You're going to build a kingdom. It's like, what? He's like, I just want to draw pictures, man. What are you talking about? I don't want to be king. No, you're going to have kingdoms. They're going to be all over the world, Walt. You don't understand. All you have to do is draw me, make a deal with me, and then draw me. And do it 500 times because you're making a cartoon by hand. That's the deal, Walt. I wonder sometimes if these fictional characters, especially the ones that are really stupid, like Mickey Mouse, are demonically inspired. I'm like, what? The Big Bang Theory? That show sucks. All those guys are demons. Everyone in it is a demon. You're like, what? What are you talking about? It's just a theory I have. It's a theory I have. And so, but I don't think that's what's going on here. I think you could go, well, Jason, it's not the Green Goblin. It's definitely a monster that people are seeing around the world. It's very odd when someone posts something and then other people have seen it. You might think that that's more likely to be faked, but it's the opposite. I've seen this happen over and over and over again through years of paranormal research because people have an experience. They think they're the only one who ever had it, something this weird. Because even Allison goes, I was reading online about another story. Someone saw a fictional character in the real world. That's when she goes, oh my God, this has happened to someone else. And she told her mom, and her mom goes, this has happened to somebody else. That's why she posted it. Because someone who sees something so weird, they really don't know who to tell. But I don't think the Green Goblin is a real life entity that is being mistaken for a fictional character. No. A lot of the other examples we've had, Ronald McDonald, Easter Bunny. Easter Bunny could have been some sort of demon posing as it. But I don't even think he did anything. I think he just walked around. The other fictional characters we've talked about entering the real world, that might be the case. Might be a disguise by a malicious entity. It might be a representation of what inspired the original fictional character. But the interesting thing about the Green Goblin, this story, is that if these sightings are true, this could be the actual real Green Goblin from Spider-Man comic books. And here's the reason why. The other fictional characters that we've talked about on this show that have been seen in the real world, they're all kind of just, the characters in those worlds are just kind of ordinary. I mean, Freddy Kruger. Freddy Kruger is a dream demon, but before that he was just the janitor. Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, is a scientific genius who is constantly working on devices to defeat Spider-Man. And it would not be out of the realm of possibility for Norman Osborn to either invent, it might be a little bit out of his wheelhouse to build from scratch, but maybe not. It would not be out of character or out of the reach of a billionaire like Norman Osborn and a scientific genius like Norman Osborn and a kook like Norman Osborn to get his hands on some sort of trans-dimensional machine. Now think about the statement that I just said. Even I have a hard time kind of wrapping my head around this concept. But think about this. If you have in a fictional universe, a character build a fictional machine that allows him to leave his dimension. I find this so fascinating. It allows him to leave his dimension of the comic books. And a writer wrote all that, and an artist drew all that. And the Green Goblin steps into the portal. And then a couple of pages later, the Green Goblin comes back with some weapon that, from a universe where Spider-Man's already been defeated or something like that. Can that portal actually work in that comic and have him enter our world? Now here's the trippy part. If in the comic book, the writer said he stepped through the portal and then it showed Green Goblin standing in a gaming room in the Bay Area, and he's like, what? This isn't Spider-Man's lair. And then a little girl looks in through the door and goes, Mommy, there's a goblin. And the artist drew the story I just told you. No, that didn't happen because it was created in the fictional universe. That scene itself was part of the fictional universe. If in the comic book, when Green Goblin comes out of the portal a couple pages later with his weapon to defeat Spider-Man, and he goes, that was crazy. I ended up in the Bay Area and scared a little girl. That is created in the fictional universe. So that wouldn't happen in ours. It'd just be a panel on a page of a comic book. But if you have the Green Goblin step through a portal in a comic book, and never put into the fictional universe what happened while he was in that portal. You don't explicitly say, he just travels through realities. Can he travel through realities into ours? You're like, Jason, how stoned are you? None at all. Not at all. If you explain what happens in the fictional universe, then it remains fictional. But if you leave a gap in that fictional world, and the elements are just right. This wouldn't really work for most characters. I don't think. And it would be a quadrillion to one shot that he'd actually enter our reality. But it appears that he's entered our reality at least 3 times. He could enter into realities just like ours, but so different that we don't. It's like multiverse, right? We just happen to live in the Green Goblin version where he's showing up 3 times. He could be traveling anywhere in the multiverse. We have him here. Now here you go, Jason, what are you talking about? If that was the case, every time Doctor Strange drew a portal, or someone drew a portal of Doctor Strange jumping through, we should see tons of superheroes. No, because, well, I wish, but no. The multiverse is what allows us to see it, but also in infinite number of realities, we don't. And here's my thing. This is the reason why I think this. It's a theory. Before everyone goes, people go, do you still listen to that podcast, the Dead Rabbit Radio? Well, I did until the last episode. Until he tried to convince me that the Green Goblin can enter our reality. And he seemed quite sure of the fact that it's possible. We got to wrap this up. It's going long. But my point is that the fact that the Green Goblin stepped into the hallway and he was confused. He was like, what am I doing here? What is going on? And he's looking around. The grin is gone. I thought it was really interesting. He had that mean grin on his face. Even the guy who said the Green Goblin jump scared him at his neighbor's house. I think at that point, Green Goblin was just having fun. He goes, well, while I'm here, maybe I'll be a bad guy. Maybe I'll sit in the neighbor's house, hoping a kid will poke his head over the fence. I should be defeating Spider-Man, but this is relaxing. The grin became a look of confusion, and when he saw the mother and the little girl, a look of surprise. You're like, Jason, this is clearly a guy, a real man, who broke into the house, or possibly was there to make love to the father. Maybe it's this gay, the gay goblin fetish. This is clearly just a break-in of a house of a man painted green, wearing boots, gloves, and a hat, and possibly nothing else. And he was surprised because the person he was there to have sex with, the guy dressed as Spider-Man, was not there. It was a crazy time in the Bay Area in the year 2007. Yeah, but there's no proof of that, right? So, because there was no proof of a break-in, it was clearly interdimensional. No, think about it. You're the Green Goblin. We got to wrap this up. You're the Green Goblin. You step through a portal in a fictional world. And it's a portal. It's a portal created by an artist, but it's a portal nonetheless. He enters our world, and at first he's like, yes, look it. I'm in a game. He's all sitting down, he's putting on a gaming headset. Let's see, Battlefield 6. Let's play a little game. Do-do-do. No, he shows up, he's like, a success. I'm in the different place than I was. That's what a portal does, right? That's the first thing a portal's supposed to do. Put you somewhere else. He has this grin on his face. Yes, now Spider-Man will finally be defeated by me. He didn't say that. I mean, that kind of would have been clutch, right? If Allison said, and then he started ranting about destroying Peter Parker, whoever that is. But when the mother and the daughter, when they come and see him, at this point, he's looking around. He's like, wait, this isn't the lair of my arch nemesis. Where's Aunt May? I was about to strangle her and leave her broken body on the couch for him to find. But then he turns and he sees not Aunt May, he sees a mom and a daughter, and he's like, what? And then he goes back to his home dimension, and he goes, I gotta try that again. So then he does it at least 2 more times. At least 1 more time. I think the woman who saw him pixelate into the... And that also is a very sci-fi way to enter our reality. Right? The pixelization. It's like you're being uploaded bit by bit, as opposed to just a jump scare or a boop or a fog or a mist. And I think he probably banged that woman. I think he probably was having sex with the second woman. Now you go, but wait a second. Does he show up as a cartoon character? No. When he would enter our reality, I would assume that he would look like us. And I would even say that when comic book characters look at each other, I don't think they see each other as comic book characters. It's not like that book, Who Censored Roger Rabbit, where you could clearly tell, well, can you? That was a good book. I really love that book, but clearly tell who's a toon and who's not. I'm sure Spider-Man and Green Goblin look at each other. They look at each other the same way we look at each other. We're 3-dimensional and we're biological entities. I don't think they think the other guys are drawing. But anyways, yeah, I think because the other goblin pixelated into existence and was probably banging that chick, maybe came back 3 days later. That one almost does sound a lot like an Alien as well, which what is a guy leaving one universe for another universe would also be very Alien. Anyway, so Green Goblin is apparently the takeaway from this episode. The Green Goblin's real, basically. Out of all of the characters, there's very few that I think could pull off a stunt like this. Well, okay, let me back up. Jason, there's centuries of great writing that involve characters of this power level. Yeah, possibly, but let's say if I was sitting in my house and all of a sudden Archimedes' dome, some kid genius from some book written back in the 70s or something like that, he invents a portal gun or some sort of device, Archimedes' dome, he's like this kid genius. He showed up in my house and he's dressed like a dork. And he's like, oh, the calculations were right and wrong at the same time. He disappeared. I'd have no idea who that was. I mean, listen, I'd have a heart attack. I would probably just die out of shock. But I wouldn't know that was a fictional character. I would just think it was some interdimensional kid. It was like, My last thing that I ever saw in this world was a dork. There's tons of characters, I guess, that can have this type of power, but he would use it. Dr. Doom, probably too. And then probably some books you know about, probably some great novels that you've read or movies you've seen. Is the Green Goblin real? Possibly. That is the takeaway from this episode. But even if he's not real, even if this isn't the Green Goblin, either something's pretending to look like the Green Goblin, and here's the thing, the Green Goblin's dumb. He's not a good enemy of Spider-Man. He's always the most boring guy Spider-Man can fight, and he looks stupid. I've never liked the design of the Green Goblin. I've never liked the Green Goblin as a character, as a nemesis, none of it. Hobgoblin, yes. Green Goblin, no. He looks like a dummy. So I can't imagine a entity going, hey, I want to disguise myself as the Green Goblin and walk around in people's houses. I could see him doing that to be Freddy Kruger. Because it's so terrifying. I could see something disguising itself as Ronald McDonald because it lets your defenses down. The Green Goblin's dumb. He looks stupid and he is stupid. So some demon's like, oh, this guy sure looks cool. Wow, I want to be this guy. Yoop. No. I think it's actually, like Jason, are you saying it's more logical that the Green Goblin exists rather than someone wants to look like the Green Goblin? Yes. Yes. The Green Goblin's so dumb looking that I imagine if I saw him, I would assume that was real rather than someone willingly dressing up or taking his form because he looks like a goober. It's stupid. It's the dumbest character design. And I don't like the fact that he's Spider-Man's greatest nemesis, because I love Spider-Man. And the fact that he's so closely tied to such an idiotic character, both in appearance and I just think he's bland. There's way better guys, dude. Way better guys. But anyways, instead of spending the next 5 minutes naming off my top 10 Spider-Man villains, Venom is not number 1, by the way. We're going to go ahead and just wrap up the episode and be back here for tomorrow. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is at DeadRabbitRadio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm so glad you listened to it today. Have a great one, guys.